A low voice cut through the darkness of my waking nightmare. "Well, Carter," it said, a familiar, infuriating drawl, "you look like hell." My world, already a prison of silence and paralysis, shattered. Michael Reed. Of course, it had to be him. My rival, my nemesis, the one man Eurostrade spent a decade trying to obliterate from the business world, was now standing over my helpless body in a hospital room that reeked of my own failure. My mind, the only part of me that still worked, screamed in pure, unadulterated rage. He was here to gloat, to witness the downfall of Ryan Carter firsthand. But as his shadow fell over me, I realized with a surge of cold dread that his visit wasn't about mockery. It was about something far more terrifying. Eurostrade am not supposed to be alive, but in this state, I might as well be a ghost haunting my own flesh. My body has become a vessel of betrayal, chained to this sterile hospital bed in a VIP suite that smells of antiseptic and my stepmother Eurostrade's victory. My eyelids are lead curtains, my limbs are stone, but my consciousness is a razor-sharp instrument of agony trapped inside the cage of my skull. That car wreck was no mere accident. It was a carefully orchestrated assassination attempt. I can still see Claudia Eurostrade's triumphant smirk at our last board meeting, a predatory glint in her eyes that promised my demise. That woman, my father Eurostrade's venomous wife, has been plotting to put me 6 feet under since the day I turned 10. And it seemed her wish had finally been granted. Or so she believed. The room is a symphony of sterile, mechanical sounds. The rhythmic beeping of the machines connected to my traitorous body feels like a mockery of my own faltering heartbeat. I am Ryan Carter, the 28-year-old heir to the colossal Carter Enterprises, now reduced to a human vegetable. I can picture it all perfectly. My father, weak-willed and oblivious, is probably at this very moment signing over my inheritance to Eric, my pathetic and useless half-brother, while Claudia raises a glass of champagne to her success. The irony is so bitter I would laugh if my vocal cords would obey. Instead, Eurostrade am condemned to endlessly replay the horrifying soundtrack of my own near-death, the blood-curdling screech of tires, the explosive shatter of the windshield, and the gut-wrenching, sickening realization that my trust had been a fatal mistake. And then, a new sound pierces the mechanical hum. The deliberate scuff of expensive shoes against linoleum, nothing like the soft, shuffling steps of the nurses. My heart monitor, I imagine, must be spiking. The door creaks open, and the sterile air is suddenly invaded by a new scent, a faint, masculine aroma of cedarwood and rich leather. Eurostrade's familiar, agonizingly familiar. My brain strains, clawing at the edges of a memory attached to that scent, but before I can grasp it, his voice slices through the suffocating darkness. Michael Reed. His footsteps circle my bed like a predator sizing up its prey. I would roll my eyes in contempt if I could. Eurostrade's undoubtedly here to savor his ultimate victory, perhaps to take a photograph of me in this pathetic state to use as a morbid slide in his next boardroom presentation. I brace myself for the inevitable cutting remark, the verbal venom Eurostrade's so famous for, but it never comes. Instead, I hear a soft rustle of fabric, followed by the faint, metallic clink of something being unfastened. Is he Euros tampering with my Roman IV drip? A primal wave of panic grips my chest, and I scream, a silent, desperate roar trapped within the confines of my mind. My body has become my tomb, sealing me inside with my own escalating terror. I can almost see his signature smirk, those piercing hazel eyes glinting with that infuriating cocktail of arrogance and amusement that has haunted me for years. He Eurostrade despised me since that god-forsaken summer camp when we were 12. When Eurostrade D stumbled under Euros, oh god, why is my brain dredging that up now? His breath is suddenly so close I can feel its warmth ghosting across my cheek, and my stomach churns. What in God's name is he doing? Relax, princess, he murmurs, and I swear I detect a subtle tremor in his voice. Princess, I would slam my fist into his perfectly sculpted face if I had the strength. His fingers, surprisingly gentle, brush against my wrist, no doubt checking for a pulse. The simple contact sends an unwelcome jolt through my system, a current of electricity that is as humiliating as it is potent. My skin tingles, suddenly hyper-aware of the calloused texture of his fingertips, of the way they seem to linger for a fraction of a second too long. He has no right to touch me. He belongs on the other side of the city, orchestrating the hostile takeover of my company, not playing doctor in my private hospital room. I struggle to focus, to unravel the threads of his twisted game, but my mind is a fog-filled labyrinth, betraying me just as profoundly as my body has. I hear the distinct snap of latex gloves being pulled on, followed by a faint click. The heart monitor beside me skips a beat, a sudden change in its rhythmic pattern, and I realize with a fresh wave of horror that he is unhooking me from the machines. My chest tightens until it feels like a vice. Is this it? Is he kidnapping me? My mind races through the possibilities. Blackmail, some perversely brilliant PR stunt designed to humiliate Carter Enterprises into oblivion. I can see the headlines now: paralyzed heir abducted by rival CEO. Cordier would be ecstatic. But Michael is never this careless. He Eurostrade a grandmaster of corporate chess, every move meticulously calculated. So why would he risk something so brazen, so reckless? Almost there, he mutters, his voice a low rumble, seemingly speaking to himself. The bed shifts beneath me. I feel straps being loosened, my body tilting as he expertly maneuvers my dead weight. A strong, steady arm slides beneath my shoulders to support me, and I despise the part of me that instinctively clings to its warmth, its solidness. I am not supposed to feel a sense of security in his arms. He is the enemy. The man who publicly derided me as a spoiled trust fund brat at last year's charity gala. The bastard who outbid me on the monumental Tokyo deal purely for the satisfaction of watching me fail. And yet, here he is, lifting me as if I were made of delicate glass, his breathing uneven and close to my ear. Donna Eurostrade hate me for this, he whispers, the words so soft I almost miss them. Hate him, I already do. Or at least, I thought I did until this very moment, until his voice cracked with an emotion that sounded dangerously like his own breaking point. My head spins, caught in a disorienting vortex of white-hot fury and another, more confusing emotion that I refuse to acknowledge. I hear the squeak of a wheelchair as he gently settles me into it. The air around me changes, growing cooler, sharper, as we begin to move. A door swings shut behind us, and the monotonous hum of the hospital fades into silence. He is actually doing it. He is stealing me. I should be petrified, but my treacherous heart is pounding with a different rhythm altogether. A rhythm of profound curiosity. Michael Reed is not a man of reckless impulse. So why me, and why now? My mind flashes, unbidden, back to that summer camp. The shimmering surface of the lake at dusk. The the way he had frozen solid when I tripped and fell against him. Our lips had brushed for a fleeting, electric second before I shoved him away, masking my own shock with dismissive laughter. He hadn't laughed back. He had just stared at me, his young face unreadable, as if I had just stolen something precious from him. I had buried that memory deep, but now Eater Eurostrade-s clawing its way back to the surface, sharp-edged and unwelcome. The wheelchair jolts as it crosses a threshold, and I hear the solid thud of a car door opening. His hand, impossibly gentle, grazes my cheek as he tucks a soft blanket around me. I want to scream at the unexpected tenderness of the gesture. "You're going to be okay, Ryan," he says, and his tone is not that of a promise, but of a desperate plea. I don't trust him. I can't trust him, but as the car's engine purrs to life, and we pull away into the night, I realize Eater Eurostrade am no longer just a prisoner of my own body. I am his prisoner, too. Eater Eurostrade am no longer in the hospital. That much is certain, even with my eyes still sealed shut and my body continuing its silent rebellion. The air itself is different here. Eater Eurostrade-s tinged with a clean, salty scent of the ocean, carrying a warmth that has none of the Hospitaller Eurostrade-s sterile, bleached-out quality. My mind is a battlefield, endlessly replaying the echo of Michael's voice, the feel of his hands lifting me, the deep rumble of the car as he spirited me away. Spirited me away. Eater Eurostrade-s a gentle way of putting it. The word is stole. I am Ryan Carter, not some helpless maiden in a fairy tale. And yet, here I lie, abducted by my greatest adversary. Or perhaps, he Eurostrade-s not. My thoughts are too jumbled, too clouded to make a definitive judgment. The surface Eater Eurostrade am lying on is luxuriously soft, a world away from the starched, unforgiving sheets of the hospital bed. Eater Eurostrade-s a real mattress, one that gives a faint creak as someone shifts their weight nearby. Michael, I can feel his presence in the room before I hear any sound, an overwhelming aura that has always been too large, too powerful, too infuriating to ever ignore. He Eurostrade-s like a gathering storm on the horizon. My skin prickles with a heightened awareness, tuning into every subtle sound, the soft clink of a glass being set down, the quiet rustle of fabric, the low, almost inaudible hum of his voice as he murmurs a tune I feel I almost recognize. Is he Euros singing? The image is so absurd I would laugh if I could, picturing his infuriatingly perfect face scrunched up in concentration. God, I despise him. Or at least, I desperately want to. Still with me, Carter. His voice is closer now, the tone teasing, yet underscored with a softness, as if he Eurostrade-s afraid I might simply dematerialize if he speaks too loudly. I want to retort, to tell him that Eater Eurostrade am right here, a sentient mind trapped inside this useless, biological machine. But my lips remain stubbornly fused together. My chest aches with a sheer effort of trying to respond, and I wonder if he can see the subtle signs of my struggle, the slight twitch of my fingers, the way my breathing hitches whenever he speaks my name. He always did see too much. That was precisely why I kept him at armor Eurostrade-s length. Why I constructed emotional walls around myself that were taller and more fortified than the skyscrapers of Carter Enterprises. But walls are meaningless when you are completely paralyzed. His fingers brush against my arm, and I flinch internally, a jolt of unwelcome heat spreading through me that I refuse to analyze. He Eurostrade-s checking something, my pulse perhaps, and his touch lingers, so careful and deliberate, as if he believes Euros am made of fine porcelain. Euros am not. Euros am forged from the steel of hostile boardrooms and the fire of corporate betrayal. But his hands, they don't Euros seem to know that. They move from my arm to my chest, gently adjusting a blanket around me. I am drowning in that scent of cedar again, now mingled with something new, something soothing, like lavender, which must be permeating the room. The atmosphere is too intimate, too comforting, and I hate the way my body instinctively leans into it, a desperate, greedy thing seeking warmth I had forgotten I needed. "You are Euros a mess," he mutters, and I can practically hear the smirk in his voice. "Drooling all over my best sheets. Liar. I know Euros am not drooling, but the familiar jab still stings, sparking a cascade of memories of our past verbal sparring matches. Him calling me out in the middle of a crowded gala, me firing back with a retort so sharp it could cut glass, until we were both laughing, or at least pretending to. I never once admitted, even to myself, how much his barbs thrilled me, how they were the only things that could cut through the suffocating numbness that had become my life. Now, his voice is all I have, the single thread tethering me to the world, and I find myself clinging to it as if it were a lifeline. He Euros moving again. I feel the cool, damp touch of water against my skin. A cloth, gliding gently over my arm, then my neck, his movements methodical yet incredibly gentle. My breath catches, trapped somewhere in my throat. He Euros washing me. Michael Reed, the ruthless corporate shark who would rather face financial ruin than lose a deal, is playing nursemaid. The cloth pauses at my collarbone, and I could swear his fingers tremble for a moment. My mind is screaming, a chaotic mix of profound humiliation and something else, something far more dangerous. Euros the same flutter I feel in my chest when he leans in closer, his warm breath grazing the shell of my ear. "Don't Euros get used to this," he says, his tone attempting to be scolding, but his voice cracks, revealing a raw, unguarded vulnerability. I want to ask him why. Why is he here? Why is he doing any of this? Why is he risking his entire empire for me? My brain scrambles, frantically digging through the fragmented history of us. Summer camp. That clumsy, accidental fall. The way his lips had brushed against mine for a heart-stopping second before I pushed him away, using laughter to conceal the sudden panic that had seized me. I was only 12 then. Too young and too naive to understand why my heart had started racing like a runaway train. Why the memory of his wide, startled eyes had haunted me for weeks afterward. I buried it, but Euros all coming back now, as sharp and clear as broken glass. The cloth moves to my hand. He begins to massage my fingers, a slow, deliberate motion, as if Euros a task he Euros performed many times before. My joints ache, stiff and protesting from weeks of disuse, but his touch is a soothing balm, and I am furious with myself for how good it feels. Euros am not supposed to need him. I am Ryan Carter, self-made, untouchable, except Euros am not. Euros am fragile, utterly dependent, and he is the only person here, whispering reassurances that Euros wake up soon, and I hate myself for wanting, so desperately, to believe him. A phone buzzes, its harsh vibration shattering the peaceful quiet of the room. Michael curses under his breath, and I feel the sudden loss of his warmth as he pulls away, a sensation akin to a physical blow. "Yeah, Mrs. Dorson," he says, his voice clipped and professional. The housekeeper, I presume. No, he's fine. He's stable. Tell Lily to stop asking. Lily? My mind snags on the name, and a spark of irrational, possessive jealousy flares within me before I can extinguish it. Euros am not jealous. Euros am just Euros confused. Key Euros s talking about logistics, no Euros medications, scheduleless Euros, and I realize with a jolt that this wasn't Euros a spontaneous act. He has planned this entire operation with the same meticulous attention to detail he applies to his hostile takeovers. The call ends, and he Euros back at my side. His hand grazes my cheek, his fingers gently tucking a stray strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture is too tender, too overwhelming, and my heart stumbles over its own rhythm. You are Euros going to hate me when you wake up, he says, his voice barely a whisper, almost as if he Euros speaking to himself. It sounds less like a prediction and more like a confession. Hate him. I already do. For making me feel this. For methodically chipping away at the armor Euros spent my entire life constructing. But as he switches on a small nightlight, its soft, steady hum filling the room, Euros am no longer so sure. The light is a promise, gentle and constant, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, I am not alone in the dark. Euros am awake, not just a flicker of consciousness trapped behind my eyes, but truly awake. My eyelids flutter open. My limbs tremble with a life I thought was lost forever, and my voice, when I try to use it, is a rasping croak I barely recognize. It has been 3 long months since Michael Reed stole me from that sterile hospital prison. 3 months of his hands being my anchor to the living world. And now, Euros am sitting up in his sprawling seafront villa, staring at my own reflection in a mirror that feels like a cruel deception. My face is gaunt, my cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass, but my eyes burn with a new kind of fire. Euros not defeat. Not yet. Clordier believes Euros am dead. And Euros am going to use that miscalculation to bury her and her ambitions for good. Michael is pacing restlessly behind me. His expensive suit jacket is slung carelessly over a chair, his tie loosened as if he, too, is unraveling. He Euros been in this state of agitated unraveling ever since I woke up 2 weeks ago. Ever since I managed to croak out his name and he froze, looking as if Euros caught him in the act of stealing the crown jewels. He is still, unmistakably, Michael Reeder Euros arrogant, sharp-tongued, utterly impossible. But now there Euros a crack in his formidable armor, a vulnerability I don't Euros yet know how to interpret. I don't Euros trust it. I don't Euros trust him. Even if my treacherous heart performs a ridiculous skip every time he brushes past me, his signature cedar scent lingering in the air like a deliberate torrent. We Euros relate, he says, his voice tense as he glances at his watch. The Garler starts in an hour, and you still look like you are Euros seen a ghost. His smirk is half-hearted, a shadow of its usual confident swagger, and I want to snap back with a witty retort, but my throat is still raw from months of disuse. Tonight is our opening move. We are going to crash a Carter Enterprises fundraiser to completely spook Clordia. Euros Michael Euros plan. Not mine, but I have to admit, Euros theatrical and reckless in a way that appeals to me. We will pose as a couple, flaunting my miraculous recovery in her face, and watch her carefully constructed world begin to crumble. I tug at the collar of the tuxedo he chose for me. The fabric feels too snug, a constricting reminder of my own frailty. Are you sure this will work? My voice cracks on the last word and I wince. Michael stops his pacing, his intense hazel eyes locking onto mine in the mirror's reflection. For a fleeting second, I see something raw and unguarded in his expression, a Euro's relief, perhaps, or something deeper, more profounder Euros, but it vanishes before I can give it a name. Eater Euros trade LL work, he says, stepping closer, if you stop doubting me. His fingers braze my collar as he straightens it, and my pulse stumbles. His touch is far too familiar now, its memory seared into my skin from months of sponge baths and late-night massages to ease my atrophied muscles. I aggressively shove the thought away, but my body refuses to listen, leaning infinitesimally closer to him as if it has forgotten how to stand on its own. Hold still, he mutters, his voice low as he begins to tie my bow tie with a practiced precision that feels almost intimate. I swallow against a suddenly dry throat, praying he doesn't notice the flush of heat creeping up my neck. Why a couple? I ask, forcing my voice to remain steady. Why not just present ourselves as business partners? Eater Euros trade as a test, and he knows it. Ire Euros trade am fishing, desperate for answers, for the real reason he did all of Theser Euros saved me, hid me, risked his own neck for mine. He could have just left me to rot in that hospital bed and swooped in to take over Carter Enterprises for himself. Instead, he Euros trade S here, playing the part of my knight in a tailored suit, and the pieces simply don't Euros trade T add up. His hands pause in their task, and I feel his breath hitch warm against my jawline. Because, he says, his voice a low, deliberate murmur, no one ever questions a lover's loyalty. His eyes flick up to meet mine, challenging me to argue, and I find that I can't. Not when he Euros trade S this close. Not when my head is spinning with the memory of his voice in the dark, promising me over and over that I would wake up. I want to hate him for it, for making me need him, but all I feel is this inexplicable, powerful pull that I can't Euros trade T seem to name. The Garler is a glittering, soul-crushing trap, a sea of chandeliers and painfully fake smiles. Eater Euros trade S the kind of environment where Claudia thrives. I Euros trade M on Michael Euros trade S arm, his hand resting steady and possessive at my waist, and I am hyper-aware of every single touch, every shared glance. He Euros trade S a natural at this, effortlessly charming potential donas, deftly deflecting intrusive questions about my miraculous recovery. But I can see the rigid tension in his jaw, the way his eyes relentlessly scan the room. He Euros trade S hunting, just like I am. Claudia is here somewhere, and so is Eric, no doubt already drunk and making a fool of himself. Smile, darling, Michael murmurs, his lips brushing against my ear. A shiver traces its way down my spine, and he lets out a low chuckle. The bastard. You are Euros trade supposed to look smitten. I shoot him a withering glare, but my lips betray me, twitching into a reluctant smile. He is infuriating, magnetic, and I feel like I Euros trade am drowning in his presence. I don't Euros trade T know how to play this game anymore. Not the corporate one, but the one between us, whatever this strange, undefined thing is. Then I see her, Lily, the intern Michael mentioned on the phone all those weeks ago. She Euros trade S bouncing towards us, all wide, bright eyes and spectacularly bad timing. clutching a flute of champagne. Mr. Reed, Mr. Carter, you two are just adorable, she squeals, and I feel Michael stiffen beside me. My stomach twists into a knot, a sharp, irrational pang. She Eurostrayed as a nobody, just a kid with a crush. But the way she beams at him grates on my nerves, as if she Eurostrayed as staking a claim on territory I didn't even realize I wanted to be mine. Lily, not now, Michael says, his tone clipped and dismissive, but she Eurostrayed as completely oblivious, babbling on about how we're the cutest power couple she's ever seen. I force a smile, my hand tightening its grip on Michael Eurostrade's arm, and he glances down at me, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. I don't know why I Eurostrade am doing this, acting so possessive, as if I actually care. I donna Eurostrade tea. I carner Eurostrade tea. But when Lily pouts and says, "You never told me you two were dating," something inside me snaps. "We Eurostrade very private people," I say, my voice coming out colder than I intended. Michael Eurostrade's eyebrow quirks in amusement, and I feel his thumb make a slow, deliberate circle on my hip. A silent question. I ignore it, but my heart is racing. And I hate how exposed I feel, as if he Eurostrade's peeling back my layers one by one with every penetrating look. Just then, Claudia appears across the room, her garish red dress a beacon of. My focus shifts instantly. She hasn't spotted me yet, but when she does, I want her to choke on her expensive wine. Michael leans in, his lips grazing my temple in a public display of affection, a calculated move for the crowd. But my breath catches in my throat, and for a split second, I forget why we Eurostrade even here. Ready to ruin her night, he whispers, and I nod, my resolve hardening like steel. But as we step forward, his hand still firmly on me, I realize I Eurostrade am not just fighting Claudia anymore. I Eurostrade am fighting whatever this is between us. And I Eurostrade am no longer sure I can win.